welcome to Sunny with a Chance of Chaos, the podcast that is equal parts optimistic and realistic. Join me as we navigate the ups and downs that everyday life brings. I'm Lindsay, and I'm so glad you're here. So get a coffee, get comfy, and get ready for a little bit of life's chaos. So glad you're here. Welcome back. I am so excited about this episode. I have in my house right now one of the most incredible human beings I know, and she agreed to do this episode with me, and I'm just so grateful. Her name is Jaime, and she's here.
Hello, Lindsay. Smiling from ear to ear.
Jaime is my friend, which is the best part of all of this, and she practices somatic experiencing as a registered massage therapist and is also a certified yoga instructor. She has graciously agreed to join us today to talk about her experiences with somatic experiencing, both professionally and personally. She is a pro at this stuff, and I am so excited to learn from her. Welcome, Jaime.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. Somatic experiencing, which we can shorten to SE here today. Okay. Is one of my passions, and I can't wait to share more about how it works and the profound benefits one can gain from doing this type of work.
Okay. I have so many questions. I'm so excited. So Jaime's been in my life in a number of different roles, and I'm glad we're joining forces to spread the word about SE today. It is incredibly cool and super fascinating topic. Every single one of us, all of you listening, can find examples of this in our daily lives. I guarantee it. So, Jaime, maybe start by telling us what it is and how does it show up in your life?
Absolutely, Lindsay. Here's a definition directly from Somatic Experiencing International's website. Somatic Experiencing, or SE, aims to resolve symptoms of stress, shock, and trauma that accumulate in our bodies. When we are stuck in patterns of fight, flight, or freeze, SE helps us release, recover, and become more resilient. The somatic experiencing approach facilitates the completion of self-protective motor responses and the release of thwarted survival energy bound in the body, thus addressing the root cause of trauma symptoms. This is approached by gently guiding clients to develop increasing tolerance for difficult bodily sensations and suppressed emotions.
Wow, that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, it sure does.
There's a lot going on there. Okay.
Yes, there is. So let me explain a bit more. SE was developed many years ago by a man named Dr. Peter Levine. He studied animals in the wild and became curious about how even though wild animals are under constant threat of death,
right, yeah,
they don't show signs or symptoms of trauma. He studied
I never thought about that before.
Yeah, we as humans are much different.
Yeah, we show signs and symptoms of trauma all the time, and we are not under constant threat of death.
Correct.
This is okay, keep going.
Yes. He studied their nervous systems and found that when under extreme threat, animals who don't have the option to fight or flight will go into a freeze response as kind of a last-ditch opportunity for survival. So most of us have heard how possums play dead, but this isn't a conscious choice they make.
Really?
No, it is an automatic survival response when a mammal isn't fast enough to run away from its predator, and it isn't strong enough to fight off its predator. The possum in this overwhelming, highly charged nervous system state will likely move into an automatic freeze response.
I can't believe they don't have a choice.
This possum, his heart rate and breathing will slow, his temperature will drop, he will be immobile. So this is a protective response for a few reasons. First, there is so much charge in the possum's body and nowhere for that charge to go.
Charge like energy? Is that what you mean?
So the fight or flight energy is stuck in the possum's little body, but he's not able to use it because he's not fast enough to get away. He can't fight off, so there's this charge. And so he's in this freeze state. Because the possum would be unsuccessful, again, in this fighting or fleeing, the freeze response helps the possum to contain this built-up charge for a period of time.
Okay.
Remember this idea of containment, as we will talk about how this affects us as humans in a bit.
Oh, okay.
Number 2, in the freeze response, pain-reducing hormones are released. So if our poor little possum is attacked and eaten, he will suffer much less within this state. Not very nice to think about, but
no.
There we go. There's Mother Nature.
Yeah, Mother Nature, genius at work.
Yes. And number 3, some predators won't eat something that it believes to be dead.
Oh.
So the predator may choose to walk away if thrill of the chase of fresh meat is gone. Which brings me to what happens next. Say the possum's predator decides to leave. In due time, the possum will come out of the state of freeze and move right back into the highly charged sympathetic fight or flight state that was being contained all this time.
Okay.
But this time he is able to use that contained survival energy to run away as fast as he can to safety. The running here is important for the possum to use up this highly charged state. And this is why the possum will be able to eventually regulate its nervous system to the point where he can soon graze on some dinner, digest his food, no problem, and then tuck in for a peaceful nap.
Oh, he deserves one.
He
at
sure
this
does.
point.
He sure does. Poor little
He
guy.
earned that nap.
Yep. No trauma for this guy because he was able to use his trapped survival energy after moving out of the freeze response by running away after the predator was gone.
Okay. Do you remember the Scaredy Squirrel books?
Oh, yes, I do.
When he
Totally.
plays dead, obviously in the story, he's a character, so it's a choice. But when he plays dead, things aren't interested in him anymore, and they walk away.
That's right. I forgot about that book.
Okay.
Yeah. Another way animals release this built-up survival energy is by shaking, which Dr. Levine studied and detailed. Yes.
Okay.
If you've ever seen a documentary where a polar bear has been given a tranquilizer,
Yeah.
and then when it comes out, then they're moving it to another location
Yeah,
or something.
yeah.
When the freezing wears off, it's shaking. I don't know if you've ever seen that before.
Oh, okay. I can picture what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So commonly after a stressful experience in the wild, mammals will literally shake and tremble as a way to discharge the stress charge in their
'Cause
bodies.
They have to get rid of it. Okay.
That's right. It has to go somewhere. Then they can go about their day unaffected by the events from earlier in the day. So let's relate all of this information back to us as humans.
Yes,
because
please.
After all,
Yeah.
we are mammals too.
Of course.
As humans, we experience fight, flight, and freeze responses too. I remember years ago when a good friend of mine hid in a closet, and when I opened the door to get my coat, she popped out suddenly. I literally dropped like a sack of potatoes.
You just like hit the floor.
I just fell. So for some reason, my nervous system felt overwhelmed to the point where I couldn't fight or flee, and so I literally collapsed.
Wow.
Thankfully, I quickly realized it was my dear friend who was laughing and a bit surprised at the result of her prank. And I was able to quickly move out of that state of freeze.
Okay. So this whole explanation produces such a vivid image. I can picture all of this so clearly in my mind, the possum and you in the closet. And to be honest, I see examples of this fight, flight, and freeze state. My students in the schools I work in every day, the students I work with tend to be fairly heightened at the best of times. So it's so interesting to watch these students totally shut down and disengage after I've placed a demand on them. Sometimes the demand is literally put your lunch bag away, but they feel it is a threat, and they eventually allow the threat to pass and then engage with their class again like nothing happened. But it is so apparent that there's something completely neurological that's happening that's very much out of their direct control in that moment. And even though the threat doesn't look like a threat to us, it feels like a threat to their nervous system, right?
Yeah. And it's so important that you can recognize that there's so much happening for these children in that moment.
And so much that's so out of their control.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes. It's not a choice.
It's not a choice.
Yeah.
And oh man, if I could only remember that with my own kids. This is
yes. Yes, I can agree with that 100%. So another personal example I can give that includes how mammals use shaking as a way to discharge stress energy is when I gave birth for the first time, speaking of our children.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, at that time I had yet to learn about SE and understand how my nervous system really worked. Labor happened fairly quickly, and even though I had read all the books, it couldn't have prepared
Didn't we
me
all? Yeah.
for the real life felt experience of
Right.
giving birth.
Of course.
So within minutes of delivering my son, my body started shaking all over. I was concerned and asked the nurse if I was okay.
Okay.
I remember actually asking her, am I in shock?
Right.
And actually, I was onto something with that line of thinking. The nurse told me that with the baby now out, my body was cold and trying to regulate in temperature,
Okay.
which seemed like a reasonable answer to me at the time. But now I realized that what my body was naturally doing was mobilizing the built-up charge of the fight or flight energy that didn't get used up during labor itself. So if you think about it, I wasn't able to run away from the experience.
No, that would not be a good choice in
Yeah.
that moment. No.
Yeah. I wasn't able to fight it off.
Right.
It was definitely overwhelming to me as a first-time mom, and
Of course.
anytime giving birth is
Yeah.
probably overwhelming for most. So the shaking was my body moving out of the freeze response, mobilizing the stuck energy so that I could move on with my life without being traumatized by the whole event.
This is unreal. Having also given birth, there's so many like me too moments in that story.
Yes.
I'm so certain that every single one of us that's listening right now can relate to experiencing emotions in physical areas of our body at one point or another, especially moms who are listening and have experienced the intensity of labor and delivery, and also because I know you have two, not one, but two beautiful kiddos. There is evidence, Jamie, that this system works to protect us from trauma, because if it didn't, there would be a lot of only children out there.
Absolutely. Yes, that is fact.
Yes, this is nature doing its job to make sure we continue to procreate.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow.
I agree.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah. So these are examples of healthy nervous system responses.
Okay.
Where we get stuck as humans, though, and what I commonly see working with clients, is more of a functional freeze state, where someone is chronically overwhelmed, but can still go about moving through their days, going to work, eating food, but they aren't really present and connected to others. So this can feel like living in a fog, feeling numb both physically and emotionally.
Okay.
Because people in this state often oscillate between feeling charged up and overwhelmed to numb and disconnected, back and forth between the two.
Oh, that sounds exhausting.
Yes, it
Okay.
is.
Yeah.
And the reason this happens is because the highly charged survival energy of stressful life circumstances isn't getting mobilized.
Oh, it's not releasing, it's not going anywhere.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. It gets stuck in the body, in the nervous system, and puts them on a hamster wheel of nervous system dysregulation.
Oh, that's a great analogy. The hamster wheel.
Right.
It's just constantly going, you can't get off.
Right.
Yeah.
And an example of how this might show up is falling asleep dead tired, but still stressed. And then sleeping, but you're more in that freeze state while you're sleeping. And when you wake up in the morning, if you feel anxious, when you wake up in the morning, you're now back in that highly charged sympathetic state.
So the sleep isn't actually restful or restorative.
Correct.
Oh,
Correct.
okay.
Yeah. So the long-term effects of this will manifest as poor physical and mental health, as well as unfulfilling relationships with others, because the person cannot truly connect from this place.
Right. Of course they can't. This makes so much sense to me, actually, as to why I forget entire conversations and experiences from various periods of my life where I've been highly stressed or anxious. That fog.
Yes.
I just want to go back to that for a second. That fog that you were talking about, I've been in that fog. And my kids will even say to me, Mom, remember when this and this happened? And I'll say, nope, but I believe you. Maybe there was an experience when I was driving in heavy traffic in Toronto, which stresses me out to no end. Or like coming down off of a particularly anxious and stressful day at work. I'll have conversations with my kids that I will actually legitimately forget. They chalk it up to me getting old and forgetting things. And now I have an excuse. There's a fog that happens when you're anxious, and it's like, and I always say too, like, when the students I work with are highly escalated and anxious, their frontal lobe turns off.
Yeah.
It's not
Yes.
working in that
Right,
moment, and I
right.
can't, cognitively, I'm not functional. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So you can actually just say, no, I'm not getting old.
That may also be true. And also, yeah.
And also you can just say, I am overwhelmed in this moment.
Absolutely. Thanks for giving me that permission.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so Jamie, I have a much better understanding already of this process and how it affects my body and reactions in various scenarios. I am very excited to learn how do I manage and use this? How do I regulate and manage and use SE in my everyday life? So give us some tips on how to do this.
Wonderful. I would love to share. Great question. So there are so many little things we can do to use SE for good in our daily lives. And here are my top 3 tips for managing these overwhelming moments.
Awesome.
Number 1, you can get into the habit of what we call orienting. So wherever you are, take some time to look around at your surroundings. So really look. What catches your eye? If you are feeling anxious, looking around and not finding anything that poses a threat can help to calm your nervous system. Of course, if there is a threat in the area, then it's totally appropriate for you to feel anxious.
Okay, fair. Yeah. I also have a very good friend who, when I'm feeling anxious and I call her, she's like, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence to show that you should be feeling anxious about someone being mad at you or whatever it is?
Right.
And so I can often orient myself by looking around and not finding evidence for the source of anxiety. Yeah. It's not there.
Yeah.
So sometimes that's amazing.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
I can do this.
Yeah,
I can do this.
You can totally do this. Okay. And sometimes it's just little things too. Like maybe a door that's closed, maybe opening the door.
Come on.
Or checking in a closet. Or just
looking under the bed.
Yeah. Or just moving where you are in relation to other people in the room.
Oh, wow.
Or maybe there's a person that doesn't feel safe to you, so you're going to feel anxious, and that's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay, number 2, noticing the sensations within your body. So notice which sensations are unpleasant. Those are usually the easiest ones to find. But also
they're the loudest.
They're the loudest, yeah. But also search for any sensations that are pleasant and then neutral. This might take time and practice for many people. If you are wishing to feel more relaxed, you may be surprised by how simply acknowledging what you are feeling in your body can shift the unpleasant sensations in a good way. So for people in chronic pain, this can be a very challenging but worthwhile exercise. And it's a good idea to have a therapist to guide you in this exercise in that case. We're looking to expand your tolerance to be with unpleasant sensations, which can provide immense relief, or even just moving your awareness to other areas of your body that don't feel unpleasant.
Okay,
really
so
help with the pain.
just refocusing your attention on something more pleasant.
Yeah, what else is there?
Gotcha.
Yes, because like you said, it's easy to find and it's loudest, the unpleasant sensations, and sometimes it can take over and we forget that there's more of our body. Number 3, self-care. This is a biggie for me and the one most people won't do. Not because they don't want to necessarily, but because it requires a certain amount of self-love to keep up.
Absolutely. And for anyone who listened to episode 4, the connection between self-care and self-love, we really highlighted in that episode. So if you haven't listened to that one,
go back
and do that first.
Yes.
And then come back here.
Yeah. Building and maintaining a healthy daily self-care routine is a huge indicator to me for nervous system regulation success. And this will look different from person to person based on preferences. Start with the basics. Eat real food, drink clean water, find an activity you enjoy that gets your body moving, create time for quiet where you aren't consuming information. That's a big one.
Give your brain a break.
Give your brain a break.
Gotcha.
If you are creative, have time to be creative.
Oh, I can't stress that one enough.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
Yes. And as much as possible, spend your time with people who you feel good to be around. Simplify. These things don't need to take hours each day, though they could. Please do not underestimate the power of a 5-minute body scan or 3 minutes of deep breathing while sitting outside. Even 10 seconds to stand up and stretch your body if you're at a desk all day. Keep it simple and keep it doable for your current life situation.
Absolutely. That last part is so important. It has to be doable. If the self-care feels like work, and I said this in episode 4, if the self-care feels like work, it's probably not working. It's counterintuitive.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I really do think that our bodily or somatic experiences vary considerably depending on whether or not we're paying attention as well. So I remember when I figured out the difference between stress and anxiety. This was a few years back. And I also remember explaining it to you during a treatment we were doing together. In your office. And I feel them very differently and in very different parts of my body. Stress for me almost sits in my bones and muscles. It makes me tense. It makes me hyped up. I'm reactive. I'm hyper aware. I'm ready to spring. Anxiety, on the other hand, is very distracting. And I go into that fog that we were talking about.
Yes.
I feel it in my chest. You know that tight knot you get right in your sternum?
Absolutely.
It's that tight chest feeling, and I get also in my stomach. So anxiety, stress doesn't do this to me. Stress makes me eat, but anxiety makes me so nauseous I can hardly even swallow when I'm feeling anxious. It's like my throat closes up and I feel so sick to my stomach. And I wonder, now that we're having this conversation, is that my body's way of saying, my nervous system, which thinks that I'm under potential attack, and it's telling me now is not the time to graze in an open field, or in like human terms, it's not the time to grab a burger from the drive-thru. Like, you are under attack and stress. What do you think? Does this make sense?
Yes, this totally makes sense. Your body is definitely telling you something with these sensations. And I think we can both agree that digesting a meal is very low on the priority list when you're feeling that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. I couldn't care less about food when I'm feeling anxious. My nervous system's so hyped up.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was helpful for me to be able to differentiate those two feelings and how they show up in my body, so I can notice them and name them and manage them when they come up, which they inevitably do. Actually, there's another term we use in education called name it to tame it. And when a kid or student, or I mean any human really, can name the feeling that they're feeling and find it in their body, they're much more likely to be able to get a handle on it and control it. Name it to tame it.
So name it to tame it, but feel it.
Feel it, find it in your body too. Yeah. So this is like the next
so
level.
Cool. I love that.
We need to find another word that rhymes. So name it. Find
Feel
it, tame it. Yeah. We need another. We need something to make this all work. Okay, we are in the stacks again, and this is the part of the podcast, as you all know, I love so much. And today I have an expert that's going to give us some resources that can help to expand our thinking and our understanding and our knowledge of all things SE. So, Jaime, what do you have?
So yes, I can recommend a few of Peter Levine's books. He has many, but a few that I'd recommend are Waking the Tiger, which is really great for just getting more general information on somatic experiencing. And for those of you who may be suffering from chronic pain, he's co-written a book with Maggie Phillips called Freedom from Pain, Discover Your Body's Power to Overcome Physical Pain. Lots of great tools in that book. Yes.
Okay. I'm definitely going to check that one out. Jaime knows this. You guys out there don't know this yet, but I have had chronic low back pain since 2011. And I think maybe this book might be my next right thing. Okay. Freedom from pain. Discover your body's power to overcome physical pain. I love this. Okay.
Yeah, you can borrow my copy.
Oh, thanks. Amazing. It's a lending library too. I love it. Okay. See, Jaime literally brings everything to the table, everyone. This is why we love her. Okay. Now you have a YouTube channel as well, right?
Yes. I've got a YouTube channel that has guided audios that help clients connect with their bodies in a relaxing way, which in turn helps to bring the nervous system into more regulation.
Amazing.
So a lot of them have to do around something called yoga nidra.
Okay.
And there's some breath work and some other fun things in there as well.
Awesome.
Accessible to all.
And you create all that content?
Yes, correct.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay. And how would they find you?
On YouTube at Jaime Vandenbroek. It's JaimeVandenbrock.
Awesome. Okay. I love this. Thank you. So, as we all know in the chaos community, gratitude is my antidote for chaos. So, I get to start. I get to thank Jaime. I cannot show this woman enough appreciation for being here today to discuss this fascinating and important topic. I also want to thank you, Jaime, for just being a rock star, badass entrepreneur, and for being an incredibly calming force in my life from the minute I met you. You are the package deal, Jaime, and I'm so grateful for you.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. I appreciate that so much. And I am also very grateful for you, not only for your friendship, but also for you creating this podcast and helping people in so many ways. I'm also want to say that I'm grateful for my nervous system because even though it can often feel uncomfortable, I know my body is doing its very best to protect me at all times.
Yeah, we need to give it a little bit more credit.
Yeah, we need to give our
It's
bodies
doing
a
its
lot.
best. Give yourself a little bit of grace when you feel nauseous and can't eat.
That's right.
And to our listeners, thanks so much for being a part of the chaos community and for joining Jaime and I today. And as always, when the chaos ensues and fight or flight kicks in, don't forget to turn your face toward the sun. Thank you. See you next time. Bye.